Hello, welcome to Access. My name is Nathan and I've been playing Wuchang Fallen Feathers, which is really good. In this video, I'll be talking about why it's really good, without any big spoilers, and while highlighting some bits and pieces that, if I'd known them, might have made my passage into the game a little bit smoother. If you don't know, Wuchang Fallen Feathers is a new Souls-like from 505 Games set in the ancient kingdom of Shu during the late Ming Dynasty. You play as Wuchang, an amnesiac pirate warrior, stay with me, afflicted with a mysterious illness known as feathering. In absolutely classic Souls style, this illness has caused corruption across the land through which you travel, turning ordinary folk into man-eating creatures and transforming monks, nobles and warriors into grotesque bosses. As with any Souls-like, so much of the joy of Wuchang is in the discovery of story, environments and enemies. But there are some hints about how the game works that might help you to start your journey. Let's begin with the mainstay of Souls-likes, levelling up. And that means our number one is get familiar with the Impetus repository, which is this sprawling chart of unlockable skills and abilities. This is the levelling system in Wuchang, and understanding the basics of how it works will help you to make good early decisions about building your character. It's worth noting that levels are bought with red mercury, the game's Souls currency, which then turn into red mercury essence to unlocked slots, rather than simply unlocking them directly. This is because some slots need other materials too. The key things to understand early on are that each weapon has its own section of the Impetus repository, containing weapon-specific skills and stats that's unlocked when you first find a weapon of that type. And perhaps most importantly, while the chart is complicated and there are multiple pathways to consider, relax, because you have the option to reset your skills at any time and start again. You can even unlock slots just to see what upgrades appear further down a specific path, then reset those points and try a different direction. Feel free to play, experiment and explore. To help you get started though, number 2, we do have some specific recommendations worth trying out. Purchasing Skyborn Call 1 as soon as you can is a good idea. This allows you to carry up to 3 stacks of Skyborn Might, which we'll be discussing in a moment, basically meaning you can unleash more powerful attacks and spells. This section of the skill tree also features a slot that increases the maximum healing charges available from your mana vase, the game's Estus flask equivalent, and another one which ups the potency of each use. These require different materials that you should find early on in the game. It's also worth noting that you can purchase a +5 stat boost to various attributes near the start of each weapon-specific branch. These attributes, strength, endurance, vitality and so on, appear in the branch of the weapon whose performance they affect and can be unlocked using 3 red mercury essence, essentially 3 levels. Let's move on to combat next with number 3. It's worth understanding right away how the basic fighting system works. By default, your main attacks are mapped to the shoulder buttons. Light and heavy attack on R1 and R2, and then weapon skill and discipline skill on L1 and L2. This is your core moveset. Although the attacks themselves will change depending on which of the game's weapons you have equipped, there'll always be variations on these 4, giving a sense of continuity as you try out new builds. Sticking with combat for number 4, when it comes to the fighting itself, it's all about evasion. While you can block or parry with certain weapons and skills, it's not a default option across your armoury. But dodging, on the other hand, is heavily incentivized. Perfectly timed last-minute dodges, what the game calls a shimmer, earn you 1 stack of the aforementioned Skyborn Might. This is basically the magical juice that powers your feathering, enabling you to cast spells and giving extra potency to certain attacks. While it is possible, especially with heavier weapons, to stagger smaller enemies and bludgeon them on the front foot, it's definitely worth getting comfortable with evading early on. Especially because number 5, you can also earn Skyborn Might with certain attacks once the ability is unlocked in the repository. Landing the 4th blow of this axe combo, for example, or the 2nd blow with a 2-handed sword. This really solidifies the importance of Skyborn Might to your overall effectiveness, especially as you unlock more and more charges, and my advice is to learn the moves that generate it and build them into the rhythm of your play, so you always have spells and potent attacks ready to use. Spells bring us on to number 6, which is spells. These get complex and powerful, but my basic advice is don't be shy of using your starting spell, Vorpal Blade. It's very handy for pulling enemies from awkward crowds, dealing with enemies using ranged weaponry, or just chipping away at health. Conversely, number 7, keep an eye out for new spells when you take down bosses and other chunky enemies. The splurge of loot can involve a cascade of unfamiliar items, so check your inventory here for new spells to try out. You can equip up to 4 at once. One of our early favourites is Echo of Dutanga, which deals strong fire damage and can stagger enemies. For number 8, I want to move on to the game's story and how it uses NPCs.
You're awake at last.
You'll encounter various colourful characters as you move through the world, and as with the OG Souls games, there's a layer of narrative and understanding here if you lean into it. In my experience, keeping track of the names of those you meet and the situations and places they mention makes the world feel a bit richer and helps your adventure to feel like more than a procession of areas and endless fighting. In Wuchang, there are often items and small quests associated with these characters that unlock more of their stories.
Could you do me a favour and deliver this to an oracle there?
In fact, let's call this number 9, if you check the items in your inventory, the descriptions often help keep track of who they're associated with, and eventually these quests tie into the game's multiple endings. That brings us to number 10, which is just to point out some tidy features of the game's compass. There are markers on the outside of this compass directing you towards NPCs you can speak to and to shrines where you can rest and level up. In the mazily pathed environments of the game, just knowing the direction of these things doesn't necessarily make it easy to find them, but I do especially like that undiscovered shrines are denoted by a red arrow. Very useful for those times when you're running on fumes in a new area and weighing up whether to regroup or push on. Finally, sticking with UI, because when it comes down to it, action RPG fans, what is more important than UI? I just really like the hot menu system. While you can cycle through your equipped spells by tapping left on the D-pad, and through your equipped items by tapping down, holding either square or triangle gives you a hot menu for quick selection using the shoulder buttons. Very handy when you're desperate to change spells or to switch from firebombs to healing vases during a boss battle. And that is it, 11 things I wish I'd known about Wuchang Fallen Feathers before I started playing. I've really enjoyed my time with Wuchang, an original title bringing some class and fresh ideas to a genre that I love. Please do like this video if you enjoyed it, let us know how you're getting on with Wuchang in the comments, subscribe to Access and hit that notification bell so you actually get told when we have videos going live.
PlayStation